Hello out there. Oh, looks like some people checked in already. Thank you very much. Nice to, well, I'd love to say it's nice to see you. It would be great to see you. It would be really great to see you right here. Hoping you can see me. I'm hoping you can hear me. I got a new audio setup. I'm trying to make the sound a little better on these things in case you've watched before. And if you've got any comments on that, please let me know. I would like to start by welcoming you all to Live from Lockdown, coming to you from my home studio right here in Toronto's Kensington Market. And as usual, would like to begin by acknowledging the land on which I sit, which is the traditional territory of the Wendat and Anishinaabeg nations, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Mississaugas of the New Credit, and the Métis Nation. This is a rich land with a rich history, and all of those peoples have inhabited and taken care of this land since time immemorial. And it is their enduring, welcoming hospitality which makes it possible for people like me to live here. And I am eternally grateful for that. And in that spirit, here's an hour of music dedicated to justice and reconciliation. So thanks for listening. Thanks for being here with me. I am also especially excited that while I've been doing Live from Lockdown on Fridays for a few weeks now, this one has a special sponsorship. This is coming to you as part of the National Arts Centre's Canada Performs series. I'm hugely honored to be included in that this week. And I'd like to say a special thank you to those of you who have come to me the first time and come through that route. Hope you enjoy the time. If you do, even if you don't, I'll be here next Friday at the same time. And I got a YouTube channel where you can catch these things in retrospect if you want. So enjoy. Canada Performs. This series has a really impressive list of sponsors that I'd like to thank, and those include Facebook, Slate Music, the RBC Foundation, Sirius XM Canada, and of course the National Arts Centre. Thanks to all of those organizations for their generosity in keeping Canadians performing in these times when we don't have many other opportunities to do it. Also like to continue my land acknowledgement for a moment because while I'm in Toronto, Canada's National Arts Centre, the sponsor of this series, is in Ottawa. And one of the reasons I love to play in Ottawa is I love to acknowledge that when I'm there, our national capital sits on the unceded and unsurrendered territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe people. And I love that our capital city is on unceded land. And let's remember that when it comes time to build some justice for the traditional keepers of our country and our land and our earth. Thanks again. So I open with "Fly Me to the Moon," an old jazz standard. You know, it's funny when you sign up for these Canada Performs series, I may have given a kind of stylistic description. I think I just said I was playing solo guitar. I don't remember telling them it's jazz. I think that they listed jazz on the website. There's going to be some jazz. There's going to be some other things. If you came here for a pure straight ahead jazz set, you may be disappointed. But in any case, I hope you like it. That, of course, was a jazz standard that Frank Sinatra sung, amongst many others. I have a recording of that with my with a project I have called the Transatlantic Happiness Project with my favorite Scottish singer, Susanna MacDonald. I'll say more about those recordings in a while, but there's a download card where you can pick that up and hear Susanna and me doing that too. But that was my solo guitar version. In particular, because of Canada Performs, I am going to try to highlight a number of Canadian composers today in particular. If you've been listening to Live from Lockdown for a while, you'll hear some tunes I've done before. You'll hear some familiar names. I'm using this platform as an opportunity to talk about the important people in my musical life, influences and colleagues, things like that. I've already mentioned one. Here's someone I've talked about who actually lives in Ottawa. Probably my most influential and important music teacher in my life so far. A really fantastic Canadian guitarist and composer by the name of Roddy Elias. And here's a tune I played about a month ago of his, and I'm going to try again. It's the title track from an album that he released around the time that I was studying with him many years ago. This is called A Night for Stars. There you go. A night for stars. I hope you're having a night for stars if you're in Europe and it's already night, or hope you're getting ready for one if you're here in Canada or in the United States or somewhere else in North America. I think I got listeners on both coasts and many places in between. So, yeah, thanks again for joining me, and thanks to Roddy. I don't know if Roddy listens to these things. I think Roddy's a Facebook guy. Anyway, special shout out to him and to all my friends in Ottawa. Today is May the 1st, is May Day. I had a great moment late last night, a little after midnight. I happened to turn Facebook on, and my good friend Peter Michael Rowan, who's a Scottish man, was up greeting the sun, playing some fiddle tunes to greet the sun on May Day morning, which I thought was quite lovely. We had a little hello for his morning and my nighttime. But May the 1st is also International Workers' Day, and I want to acknowledge that in particular. I guess that's particularly observed here in North America, but a very, very important opportunity to acknowledge the people who keep our world moving. It's a date and a holiday that dates to the late 19th century. As I understand it, in about 1886, there was a strike in Chicago, people striking for an 8-hour day. And the police broke up the picket line, killed a worker on the picket line, and a bunch of those laborers went out and set up a peaceful demonstration the next day, which sadly turned very ugly, resulted in about a dozen deaths. Police raided it. Um, and ever since then, May the 1st has been a day to honor workers all around the world. I want to do that in a couple of ways today. I'm going to mention May the 1st and the labor movement and some of my colleagues in that work in a number of ways. But first and foremost, in these crazy times of COVID-19, I want to say a special shout out to the people who are keeping us safe and healthy and fed. Frontline healthcare workers, nurses and doctors, and other workers in hospitals, people who have to go out and face those risks every day to keep us healthy. The people who are keeping us fed. I have a wonderful son who's on an organic farm in the near Wakefield in the Gatineau Hills in province of Quebec, growing food so people can stay fed in these times. And I don't know where we would be without those workers. So on May the 1st in particular, a special shout out. Last week I did a version of Over the Rainbow for the NHS workers in the UK and for healthcare workers everywhere. I don't have a particularly appropriate piece of music to dedicate to those workers this time, so I'm going to do another Canadian song by a Canadian songwriter. Ironically, I never thought of playing this tune solo until I was tuning in this week to Roscoe Galloway's Ruby Tuesdays show. Roscoe is a fantastic singer-songwriter who's from Scotland, now lives in Sweden. Ironically, while we become friends on Facebook and we check each other's feeds out, we've never actually met. I hope to meet Roscoe one of these days. But he did this tune on one of his shows this week, and it made me think that maybe I could do a solo guitar version. So this is by a very well-known Canadian songwriter who goes by the name of Feist, Leslie Feist, to those of you who know her a bit better. And it's called Gatekeeper. Yeah, there's Gatekeeper. This is once again Beausoleil. Okay, well, that was Beausoleil. Looks like some of you are back. Maybe a bunch of you are back. I have no idea what happened. I said this a minute ago. If you caught it, my special day with Canada Performs, and I'm having all kinds of technical difficulties. I'm super frustrated about that, and I'm really sorry. Anyway, I opened my eyes partway into that last tune, and it seemed that the video had ended. I don't know why the video ended. I don't know what happened. So I seem to be live. I seem to be rolling. People seem to be commenting, and thank you very much. Yeah, I don't know what went on. Man, crazy. I'm gonna switch guitars and see if I can tell you a story while I do that. So again, in honor of May Day, in honor of the International Workers' Holiday, it is. I like to talk about the song and the slogan "Bread and Roses." Term I'm sure you've heard. Bread and Roses comes, as far as I know, from Helen Todd, a suffragette activist, again in the early 20th century. Made a speech where she called for both bread and roses. We fight for bread, but we fight for roses too. And inspired a man by the name of James Oppenheim to write a poem called Bread and Roses. It's a poem and a song that are commonly associated with the strike at the Lawrence Textile Mill in Massachusetts in 1912. A successful strike, I might add, and a place where the struggle for bread and roses is remembered. It's a special tune for me. I played it with many people over the years, but in particular today, I want to say a special shout out to members of my band. I had a couple of musical projects, but my main musical project these days is a band called the Special Interest Group. And a big hello to Rebecca Campbell, Jim Bish, Rakesh Tiwari, and Ian D'Souza, in case any of you are listening. Those very special people have been working with me for a couple of years in this band, the Special Interest Group, uh, playing music dedicated to progressive social change, using music as an instrument to make the world a better place. That's what we're trying to do. Once again, it's a great day to support your people on Bandcamp, and we have a brand new album. This album is being released today. We plan to release our album, The Spark, on May the 1st, on the International Workers' Holiday. Little did we know when we made those plans we would be in the middle of a pandemic. So you can get that album on Bandcamp. You can get it on iTunes and other kinds of digital places. I haven't set up my Bandcamp page to sell you physical CDs yet. I will do that shortly. If you want a CD and it's not up on Bandcamp, send me a message. We'll work it out on Facebook. I'm happy to send you. I got boxes of CDs just over there at the corner of my studio. I've got the other ones too. Share the Wealth and a couple of other projects. So check those out. The Special Interest Group was going to be on the road for the next couple of weeks promoting this new album. We were supposed to be in the town of Peterborough, Ontario tonight for a big show for the Peterborough Labour Council. That's not happening, obviously. We were going to be at my favorite Toronto venue, the Transact Club, next Friday night, and off to Irene's in Ottawa the week after that. And none of that's happening. Anyway, in honor of that work and that band and workers all over the world, I'd like to play a Bread and Roses. This album has got a fantastic version of this tune. I think it's fantastic because the amazing Rebecca Campbell sings it, and she's worth checking out. So here is Bread and Roses. There you go, Bread and Roses. To the special interest group and all my friends and all the fans of that band, thank you very much. Still rolling. Wow, technically challenging day over here. Speaking of technical, I should say after a couple of comments I've received, I know that there's some clicks and noises in here. It's really strange. One of the strange things about doing these gigs, we've talked about this a few times over the past few weeks, but one of the strange things is like it's loud and it's quiet at the same time. I'm here in a little room. Usually when I'm on stage, stomping on all the pedals and loopers and delay things that I've got down here that you can't see, the sound kind of gets lost in the context of a PA system. Right here in my studio, I'm sure those clicks are kind of annoying, and I apologize, but there's a little bit of technical assistance to help make the music go. That's going to be a bit of that. I'm going to do some switching around. I'm going to do a tune of mine, another tune of mine, also from this album called Share the Wealth, available on Bandcamp and other places, directly from me. This is a tune called JM. I'm going to let you in on a secret of the musical universe, ladies and gentlemen. And anybody else? You've probably been wondering for years what JM might stand for. Now, of course, nobody would name a tune with an oblique reference like that unless they wanted to remain a little oblique. And I'll say that that title of that song has many meanings. But one of them is this. There's a scale. There's a scale that those of us who practice scales every day do called the melodic minor scale. Nope. And the ascending form of that scale is sometimes called the jazz minor scale because jazz players like to use it as a basis for improvisation. And I was practicing that scale, working on that scale many years ago, and a great way to learn a scale was to write a tune around it. So this is a tune called JM, making use of the jazz minor scale. It's in E jazz minor, in case you're playing along. Hope you like it. JM, there you go. Ah, what a day. Again, my apologies for that drop a little while ago. Looks like people are back. Um, Joining me. Thank you very much. I think I've got time. I have time for a couple of tunes. I might just have time for one. I'm going to do. Look at my notes. Maybe a brief reminder that I'm happy to teach this stuff. Nothing I'm doing is all that complicated. Chords, melodies, bit of groove. And I'm doing a bit of teaching in this realm by Skype and Zoom these days. A couple of people who've taken some lessons are showing up on the feed there. And if you're interested in that, please be in touch. I keep notes over here because there's a lot to think about doing this every week. I'm going to do my usual thing, which is my message of love. People call it my rant. I'm not going to rant. I really promise not to rant. I'm going to talk to you a bit. I'm going to switch my guitars. I'm going to play one more tune. Two quick notes for you, all you lovely people listening to me in these dangerous times. One of them, I actually meant to speak about this last week, and I forgot. But did you notice what happened to the price of oil last week? Did you notice that West Texas crude was selling for the grand sum of negative $30 a barrel? I don't know about you, but I don't have a lot of money to invest, and I get really tired of bankers invading my Facebook feed and my space here and there telling me how to invest my money. I finally feel like I have a bit of advice back for all those investors, which is that when something's selling for less than zero, when people are paying you to take it off their hands, maybe it's not such a wise investment. Kidding aside, that's got to be a sign that it's time for change. Now is the time for us to think about moving away from our oil-based economy. Let's use some of those resources that are getting eaten up on the plummeting price of oil and stop investing in raping the earth, the way we Canadians in particular are really good at doing, digging dirty oil out of the ground. And let's put some resources into finding clean ways to power our homes and get around. We do that. Maybe when we come out of this pandemic, we can rebuild the world in a more sustainable way. That's one of my hopes. The other thing I wanted to say is I had a really fun message from an old friend of mine by the name of Chris McCool. Saying hi to Chris if he's listening. Chris is a great musician. He's got a great body of work he's developed for kids, a bunch of kids' songs, teaching kids to learn about the environment and care about building a cleaner, healthier, safer world. He's also got a really great band called the Sultans of String, which he leads with a great guitarist from Toronto called Kevin, but he's not me. He's Kevin La Liberté. Kevin and Chris have this great band, the Sultans of String, that I encourage you to check out. Chris sent me a message this week, said, you really think a universal basic income is possible? Something that I've been talking about if you've been listening to me on my live from lockdowns. I've been talking about a lot, is my belief that it's time for us to institute a universal basic income, a decent living wage for all people. And when I read his message, do I really think that's possible? It reminded me that I hadn't said something for a couple of weeks, which I said, I think, the first time I did this. And it's to quote an economist that I would never otherwise quote, a really terrible guy by the name of Milton Friedman. And the great Naomi Klein, the great Canadian activist and writer and journalist Naomi Klein, does a better job of this than me, referring to what Friedman said. But, you know, in times of crisis, in times of shock, things change and things shake up and things change in ways that we never would expect. And sometimes things that would seem impossible mere weeks ago start to happen when big shakeups happen to the economy. And there's never been a shakeup like the COVID-19 pandemic. Never. So this is our chance to build a new world the way we want to. And the thing that Milton Friedman said is that those changes often happen from ideas that are just lying around. So yes, Chris, a universal basic income is possible. Anything is possible. There's lots of greedy people shaking their hands thinking that the kind of controls that they put on us are going to stick around, and we've got to start discussing and debating and being really loud about some different kind of ideas, like universal basic incomes, like green economies, like the great work that the people of the LEAP Manifesto are doing, Naomi Klein and others. So let's keep those ideas alive. Let's go get those ideas out there so that when we go back to a world where we can be with each other, that we don't go back to normal, that we build a new place. There's my thought for the day. I'm going to close with one more piece of music. Thanks again to the National Arts Centre and all the sponsors of the Canada Performs series, Facebook, Slate Music, the RBC Foundation, Sirius XM Canada, and of course the National Arts Centre. I'm going to close with a tune by another Canadian composer, really a man who's one of my heroes, a man by the name of Thompson Highway. Thompson is a Cree author and playwright and composer, and I think really one of the most important thinkers that's alive in Canada today. I think he's one of the most important thinkers in the world and one of the most important people ever to come out of the Canadian artistic world. I've had the huge privilege of meeting and working with Thompson a little bit, counting him as a friend, and working a lot with a really great singer that I have spoken of before in this forum, Patricia Cano. Patricia works with Thompson quite a lot. They're a real team. And this is a tune that I've had the privilege of playing with Patricia a few times, although it was written by Thompson. It was written by him for a show of his called Rose, which is part of the Rez Sisters series. You know, it's funny. I play these songs, some songs that you might know, and I've heard other artists sing, and really, they're beautiful tunes. I think Gatekeeper that I played earlier is a beautiful tune. This tune, which is called Jukebox Lady, is a really beautiful piece. And the words are important. And I'm not singing the words, I'm just playing you the melody. But if you want to hear the words, the great Patricia Cano did one of these live streams, did a Canada Performs live stream a couple of weeks ago. April the 18th, I believe. I'm pretty sure you can still see that at the NAC website or perhaps at Patricia's Facebook page. I really encourage you to check it out and hear her beautiful version of Jukebox Lady. When we perform this live, it's often dedicated to the really shocking number of missing and murdered Aboriginal women in Canada, and dedicated to the struggle for justice for those women. And I want to leave you with that thought, that Jukebox Lady, Ojibwe women, Aboriginal women all across this country are the victims of unthinkable violence way too often and far disproportionately to their numbers in our population. So let's remember that. And when we build a better world, let's build a better world that first and foremost remembers the original keepers of our land. This is Jukebox Lady. today. Big thanks to National Arts Centre, Canada Performs. I miss you. I love you.